All right, guys, ladies, gents, bots, and Yoda. It appears like we have a Yoda in the crowd today. We'll do my usual run through, give everyone kind of a what for. These become much more popular, and I love to see it because it's a lot of fun. Welcome to the Scrappy Echoes campfire. Wadhams and I have been doing this for quite a while, and we treat it like a roundtable type, discussion point. This, like everything else, is entirely driven by you. We use the stage format just because it tends to control a little bit better. If anyone, in the audience does want to participate in the conversation, either ask your question or whatnot, like this is all driven, based on your questions. You can raise your hand at the bottom of the UI. Wadhams and I are monitoring it, and we can invite you up to speak. If for some reason you can't, or you just don't want to, by no means does anyone have to come up. We do have the campfire chat on the left-hand panel. I also have that open and I'm monitoring it. So you can certainly drop questions or feedback in there, and we can talk about it out from that. We do this, roughly every week was kind of the goal. But obviously with the launch pending, it's not something that we can do all the time. When the launch actually is here, then we can certainly revisit this on a regular basis. And it's a great way just to have conversations with everyone as far as, what's going, either events, the seasons, as I know that they've been addressed a couple times, or, any sort of the mechanics, like, hey, how do I accomplish X, Y, Z, which I know is the big talking point I wanted to do for today. Because, here we are, May 17th, by my clock, and in 2 weeks and 2 days, we will be at release, for the game. And I thought this was kind of a great way to kind of, start hammering at those questions. At least internally, Wadhams and I have been doing or Wadhams, really, I had to back out last minute on my portion, but we were talking about the Shadows and Immortals, kind of what's the difference, how they fit in, to the grand scheme. And then, we also have just other mechanics, as far as, the Heliquary, as far as I just lost the name of what I was thinking of. It was like the Ibum Sanctum, when we, which was a new thing in beta, where we collect the, not the gem pieces, but, slot them in and upgrade them, and then run, to get the little shards to, bolster the power. I'm trying to stall, so Wadham jumps in with the, oh yeah, it's this, and I can, be happy because I just can't think of what it is off the top of my head. Some of those mechanics, and even if it's questions on, the PvP, PvE, battlegrounds, those types of things, just to kind of hammer it out. Because, it's one of those, I've talked a lot about, people ask, what do we do? How do I's? And especially with this game, Diablo Immortal it's an onion. There's so many layers, so that if you are a person that loves PvP, you can do that. If you're a person that hates PvP, you can still have a really, really good experience without even touching it. Or even addressing here some of those little questions about, the pay to win aspects and all that. And I apologize. I've got a work email that's coming in too, but we can kind of talk about some of those a little bit. So just because it's the first question I'm kind of seeing in here, looks like you guys are having some fun. So why don't we start off with some of the first layer of questions, day one in 2 weeks and 2 days. You know, who are we starting? What are we planning on running? You know, is always the hot question. You know, I know Echo Gaming just dropped, you know, his video on ranking people, and there's a little bit of, we'll say, controversy about you know, who's good to play, and what was it? Someone jokingly accused him of not giving Demon Hunter any love. I know I chimed in right away to answer your question, Forrest. I'm actually split, you know, on Demon Hunter, because that was definitely a fun one, or the Monk, and I actually plan on, you know, running both classes. I'm not going to wait for the class swap. I want to have two characters just because they're so much fun, you know, and I like them for different reasons at that point in time. So I know that that's definitely something that we can certainly use. And Burnt, you don't actually have to shoot me a DM. I just tagged you. Yeah, don't forget, you guys can certainly drop in questions on that Campfire chat channel. Yeah, no, I'm actually planning on the Demon Hunter. Definitely will be up there along with a Monk for various reasons. You know, I can tell you there is no bad class. You know, I actually haven't gotten to Echo Gaming's movies just because I've been busy. But it's like, you know, I know at least the last time we covered it, you know, they're all great. You know, as far as, you know, which one do you want? You know, again, it just comes down to preference. You know, I like being able to jump in the fray and jump on out. That was just kind of my, you know, preferred play style. You know, I don't like standing there and smashing with the, you know, barbarian. Nothing wrong with it. You know, Wadhams I can kind of hand off to you a little bit because I think you're planning on going barbarian, right?
Actually, no. I was. That's what I named in beta, and I played barbarian to the max. That's it, and that's the in-game that you can play for beta. But no, I'm gonna switch back to Wizard, which is what I made in alpha. I love the skills, the synergies, and how each piece of legendary gear affects your build so much. So that's what I love about the Wizard, and I love all the skills effects too. It looks cool. So I'm gonna switch back, but maybe I'll regret it. I don't know. If I regret it, I can always switch back to Barb. You know, in 2 months when they release the class changes.
Yeah, and it's one of those, again, I know with the Barb, you know, there was certainly a lot of people that, or not the Barb, but the Wizard that, you know, would swear by it, especially when you were, you know, higher leveled. It definitely was a great in the PvP. You know, you start throwing in some of those crowd control spells. You know, the black hole was always the easy one. It definitely, you know, owned it, and you know, there was a lot of technical stuff you had to be mindful of, you know, but if you could control the technical, then it was definitely a beast to behold. And I know I've even seen, you know, same types of comments with, you know, like the Monk. You know, what was it? Echo Hack was on an interview with Darth Microtransaction, Cold Brew, and I can't think of the third gentleman that's part of that party off the top of my head. And Echo Hack was showing, you know, videos of the Monk in action, you know, jumping in, and you know, the way I always loved it, just like you jumped in, smacked them all around, jumped out, and then you just watch the bodies hit the floor. You know, like that was definitely something that you know, I was definitely fond of, and you definitely saw it happening. You know, with the Necromancer, with the Demon Hunter, you know, you kind of had that a little bit, but I know that daring swing skill wasn't really controlled well. I never used the daring swing. You know, you definitely had to be constantly moving.
You know, the thing with the daring swing is a lot of people complain about it in open world because if there was like a log laying on the ground, you would get stuck or something like that. But in PvP, I actually prefer using daring swing with an additional stack So I had 3 stacks of Bearing Swing with the frost that's laid on the ground. So someone's tracking you that slows them down. And I thought it worked really well. I honestly thought in PvP, if Demon Hunters get any more movement, and if they're more mobile than what they are now, they're just gonna shred the entire battlefield. Like, they're just strong. They do so much damage, like, immediately on the spot.
Yeah, no, it's definitely fun. It looks like we've got a couple other people. While we get Sakin's mic worked out, how about you, Xerxes? You joined us up here. Where are you on the start for the day one? What are you kind of looking at?
Oh, I was actually not going to talk about that. I was going to continue your conversation about the monk and the demon hunter, because you were talking about the wizard synergies, right? And what people don't really get is that Diablo Immortal is actually a co-op game, and usually Diablo games are really more solo based. Now, why the wizard is so powerful? It's super squishy. Like, if you don't know how to master the wizard, you are going to get you're going to rage. So, like, if you do a fire spell, right, or the ground is affected by something, and then you add an element on it, your spell is going to do like 50% more damage because your spell is air, and the fire affects the air, so your fire does more damage. So there's like little synergies like that are not necessarily set in game, but I know Echo Hack talked about it. And it's like the monk. Why is the monk so powerful? It's not because he's like the solo best damage dealer. It's because he crowd controls and aids other people to do more damage. So if you have like the monk that jumps in and jumps out, then you have your cleaner, which is a demon hunter that just comes in and just kills everything. So it's like it's really a team-based synergy effort. And yes, Daring Swing got changed with the updates, but I believe they should have more uses for the demon hunter. And also, you have to take the demon hunter out of the fact that you think it's an assassin, because people like the worst mistake I've seen people on chat talking like, "Oh, I'm gonna use your rogue. I'm an assassin. I'm going to be the demon hunter." I'm like, no, the real rogue is the monk. You jump in, do combos, combo, go out. That is a rogue. That is the assassin. The demon hunter, amazing damage. Don't jump in. You're gonna get fucked. You are the squishiest class, but your damage is amazing. You have to play like an 80 carry in League of Legends. You gotta stay back and like finish. You are the finisher. You come in and you clean up. You're not the playmaker. Unless maybe you're a big whale, you don't care, just go in and kill everything, right? But like, if you know how to play your class, every class does a lot of damage. Barbarian is super popular. Sorry, I'm actually going on. Sorry. Barbarian is like super popular, not because, he's super OP. It's because anybody that takes a Barbarian is a good Barbarian. Because everything synergizes so well with his skit, you don't really have to think about how to make it more powerful. But if you actually make him and you think about it and you make an awesome build, there's a way to be even a better Barbarian than just being the good Barbarian, So like, yeah, that's what I wanted to say about your combos and wizards and synergies. Because a lot of people forget the wizard is the master of elements, and the game has element bonuses, and different class do different elements. Like the monk does electricity, right? Pretty much it. Frost, electricity. Guess what frost does? Well, it gives you kind of like the water element. If I fry you when you're kind of like frosted, why do more damage on you? So it's a kind of, and then you have your sets. Like, don't build your build solo. You have to build your build co-op. The synergies between all the different sets are amazing.
And you're absolutely right. I know that's one of those things, Sakin, about this game that's different than like anything else to me. Any other Diablo, any other like mobile game that's of the same class. It is all about the team, and I know it's, especially when you're looking at it as a mobile game, you think, I'm going to be playing by myself. Like it's so much easier. And to a certain extent, you're right. But it's one of those, like, especially as you progress, never mind the requirements implemented post or in the beta, where you had to be grouped up to go into the hell difficulty dungeons. Like, just to be successful in anything, you need to know how to work as a group, and you've got diversity in that group. So like you said, it's not just, just wizards or all wizards. Like, you need everyone together. And I definitely agree with you that the monk has some of the best, just support shields, whether it's, I'm going to pop my shield and then everyone inside of it, gets a little extra strength, a little extra defense on there, or, pop a shield and it's even a little more offensive. And anyone that crosses in gets a frost, slow down. And now it's a lot easier for the barbs to start doing cleanup, or anyone else to do cleanup on
Now, just one little thing for everybody listening and whatnot. Like, I was in SE for a while, and I always come and I chat and I help people out. I don't mind. I just love the game. I have a passion for Double Immortal and everything. The Necro has the best shield, the best buff for the team shield-wise. The Monk has a smaller shield, but he can actually spam it more often. So it's like more situational kind of thing happening. And everybody say that the Monk is good in CC, but the real CC master is a Necro.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of like everything happens, and it really depends on the build, because there's so many different builds. Like the new sets that were out, like I took like maybe 2 weeks, and I've been making like 10s and 15s. I'm talking to Mothman, and we've been like orgasming almost of like, oh, look at this build, oh my god, and we could put this item in, so yeah, I'm super psyched, super hyped. It's going to be an amazing game. I love the fact that you always come and you do like this little campfire stuff. Yeah, pretty much it.
Yeah, no. And that's the other side of, like, you pointed out that you were in Scrappy Echoes and now you're wherever, whether you're a free agent or you're with another group. That's one of the things that, like, because we've had the conversation a couple times about like why we do this, and it's like I could lock this down and say it's only Scrappy Echoes, just for the family. But it's like, but really, realistically, as I look through, all of our rosters, like, it's important to get those different points of view, and so long as we're all helping each other out, that's the big end all. And again, it also again comes down to different points of view, because the way that I might use my shields or experiences might differ just a little bit. So it's definitely valuable information to kind of get from anyone. And even if you're in a we'll go back to beta. I was not in the pizza party group, Echo Hacks group, but I loved working with them. And that's the other side that what's great about this is it really is a great social experiment, and everyone can, even if we're on different clans, even if we're in let's go all the way to an extreme, we're in competing clans for the Immortal, we can still support each other in every way, shape, and form.
But that kind of, I believe that's going to change a little bit more, because in beta, like, if you were in a clan, you could be like Shadow Immortal and like Adventure in the same clan, and then you have like different chats and everything. But now you have a clan, and there's no more dark houses. You have a dark clan, right? And I was actually talking to Wadums about that today, about the theory of how is it actually going to work. Because in the beta, when you became immortal, right, you were part of another clan. So you weren't like your clan didn't become all immortal. You were just like from a different faction, but still in your clan. But now if you're in your clan, if your clan, the entire clan becomes immortal, and you invite somebody in your clan, is that person now immortal? Or is now your clan locked in because you're immortal? I don't know if you kind of get like the back system of it. Like, there's a whole like system of, is your clan going to become not a clan anymore, and you're just going to become immortal? It's possible that when you become immortal, your clan just dissolves and you're just immortal.
Yeah, and I know that's something that like we said, is a new mechanic as of the beta, and I'm interested to see exactly how that pans out, and not even immortal, even just the shadow. So we'll do a little backstory for everybody, just because I've got to see a couple questions about, that always come up about the adventures, Shadows, Immortals. All three of them are different factions that are experienced inside of Diablo Immortal. The story specifically is going to be between the Shadows and the Immortals, and then the Adventurer is just a neutral party. The Immortals are your guardians over Sanctuary. The Shadows is kind of like the little brother that's always trying to antagonize the big brother, and that's kind of the quickest way to describe it. So you can kind of picture like the Immortals are on the rights, Shadows are on the lefts, and then the Adventurer is the one in the middle. They're neutral. They don't care. They don't do anything about those. And the interactions between the Shadows and the Immortals are definitely the crux of this game, obviously, with the title. All three of them, Shadows and Immortals have different types of events. We can certainly go into each of those ad nauseum. They're all driven around making their faction the better faction, and your clan inside of the Shadows, at least, like you want to be the best that you can be, the strongest, the most powerful, and not necessarily in hit points and defense, but even in shadowness, I guess. And then Immortals, obviously you're at the top of the ranks and you want to maintain that legacy, because then you actually get gear and you get experiences to be the best. And the Adventurers, at least as we saw in beta, there was almost no reason to be an adventurer. You were just in the middle. You did your daily stuff. You kept your head down. You still had a good game, but you didn't get all the extra stuff that Shadows and Immortals had. I know if you asked me, by like percentages, maybe 15% of all player bases might be adventurers. Let's kind of be generous. Only like 5% is ever going to be immortal as things rotate through, and obviously those numbers could flux. But most people are going to be shadows, and in my mind, everyone should be a shadow. And there's a lot of events, if nothing else, to get parts of, and then you can decide based on timing, based on your schedule, how much of a shadow do you want to be? Do you want to do the extra contracts, the extra daily quests? Most people will do that. Do you want to participate in the guild run, or then the vault runs for the extra PvE? Those are all definitely fun things to do, but you don't have to if you don't want to. The stronger shadow classes will participate in everything, hopefully participating in the Rite of Exile to trigger the Cycle of Strife, but again, like I never went through and did the Cycle of Strife just because my timing didn't allow me to participate in them, and that was just me. But you can have a great experience. I did a little bit of time in the Immortals during the tech alpha or closed alpha just to experience it, and at least at the time, I know it was still in development. It was definitely fun and exciting, but kind of washed my hands of it. I was like, this isn't really what I wanted to do. The shadow stuff was much more entertaining at the time. Initially in the alpha, there was a very big benefit to being an adventurer. You got extra scoria if you didn't participate in the events. At least as of the beta, that wasn't the case. Things change all the time. And I think right now the overarching decision, if you asked anyone that played, between the two factions, almost no one's going to go adventurer. You're just there as default. Hopefully that changes, though. There's certainly people that kind of need to be there, and they should get some benefit if they don't want to be there.
Can I ask a question? So, because you were talking about adventurers and everything, I remember joining Shadows, and then Echo Hack got Immortal, or no, somebody else got Immortal before Echo Hack, or somebody got, I think, Silver Ring. Anyways, and then I was like, hey, I want to join you guys, but if you're a Shadow, you cannot go to Immortal. You have to be an adventurer before being an Immortal. The second you become Shadow, you are Shadow until you can kick the butt of the Immortal to become Immortal. Unless there's a Cycle of Strife that happens, and then you could redecide if you want to be a Shadow or an adventurer.
Yeah, and that was definitely something that I took, so, if you were, the recap, if I could be an immortal, there's a couple ways it could happen, two ways it could happen. One is invite only, and I'm invited up as an individual. And then the other one was, at the cycle, the top dark house, the whole dark house became the immortals, or at least a piece of the immortals. And yeah, one of the things that we noticed is, if you were an immortal, you were allowed in. And then if you decided you were done being an immortal, you could say, I want to leave, I'm done. And that was fine. At least here, I think, that now begs a question a little bit of, well, what does that mean as far as clans? So, and we'll just use names, if our clan, the Scrappy Echoes, becomes the immortal and immortal clan, and I decide I don't want to do the immortal activities, I want to leave it. I wonder how that's, going to get shaped out. And I rather hope that, in the next week or so, 2 weeks, we get an answer about that specifically. Even if it's a blog post. Otherwise, we'll just have to, figure it out as we go. And then on the other end, like you said, with the shadows, once I went through the process to become a shadow, I was always a shadow. You did not leave the shadow. You may be, less active. You may not be participating, but you never could step down and become an adventurer. And that was something that, at least to me, was a negative, because if I wanted to step down, I should be allowed to. And again, I kind of wonder how that's going to matter as far as clans are concerned. And I hope they take that feedback and think about it. I know on the other end, I've seen, as far as the shadows and immortals, if there's people in here that decide they don't want to be a clan, that is not a requirement to participate in the shadows and immortals. I know I'd read somewhere from Wyatt's comments that an individual can still participate as a shadow or an immortal. So I'm just kind of curious how all that's going to really shake out, because then the other question that I wanted to know was, they still have to answer, when I decide to become the shadow, you typically, as of beta, had to level up to, level 20 or something. Like, it wasn't early on, but it wasn't late game to even become aware of what the shadows were. And if I, start a new character and I join a clan, and I've a level 10, I also kind of wonder how that's going to get processed around, because, maybe I don't want to be the shadows. So I know that's something that, I'm definitely interested in, how all this is going to work out, because the other comment that you made me think of, Saken, about the clans, especially of beta, there actually wasn't a purpose for clans in beta, other than just a social gathering. It was another chat room, and we all kind of knew what to do, what to expect, but there wasn't a reason to join other than an extra chat room. Speaking of chat rooms, I know I saw the question. See if I can find it again as I scroll back a little bit. Who was it that asked about voice chats? I'm never going to find it now. I know I thought I saw someone bring up voice chats in here. And don't forget, you guys can drop comments or questions into the Campfire chat channel. There is a voice chat. You saying something, Wadhams?
Yeah, we have a few questions already, about 3 questions we need to answer.
Yeah, so, I'm just kind of going through now, so let's go ahead.
The first question is from Dragnod. He asks, how important is magic mine? It is something I need to focus on hitting. So what I can tell you, Dragnod, is you don't want to focus on magic mine specifically, but you do have gems in game, right? And once you get to level a rank 5 gem, it unlocks Magic Pine. If it's a 1-star gem, it unlocks 5% Magic Pine. If it's a 3-star gem, I think it increases, and then if it's a 5-star gem, then it's like 10% magic find. So they as you level up your gear, well, as you level up your gems, you'll passively get more magic find. And then also when you get into Paragon, there's a tree called Treasure Hunter Tree, and the skill is called Treasure Find, and it does 50% increased equipment drop rate from elite monsters in outdoor areas. So you'll get some good magic find from that as well, but that is only when you're in outdoor areas. So if you're in the Treasure Hunter Tree and you equip that skill, then you won't get it in dungeons, you won't get it in raids, you won't get it in any place except for open world activities. But so they do build in magic find. They layer it into ways to get it naturally as you progress in gameplay. But it's not necessary. Like, I wouldn't go hunting for magic find and stuff. There's much better ways to much better attributes to get.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Like, you know, and even then, there's also a lot of, at least what we saw as a beta, in-game buffs too that happened with Magic Find. You know, and Wadhams, you can correct me on this one, but memory serves when a new cycle began, what was it, for 24 hours? The Immortal, along with his lieutenants, also had increased Magic Find, like a huge buff on Magic Find, and 200% too.
So it's like, it's basically just the Immortals. Yeah, the Immortal clan that get it. They everyone gets this buff, and I think it's like 100% per person, or maybe 200%, and it stacks. So if you're in a group with 3 other players that are Immortals, for I think it's 4 hours actually. For 4 hours, you will get like 1,000% Magic Find increase buff, something like that, or 800%. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so Sagan actually just added in that it was 4. He said it was either 4 or 8 hours after the change. So it was a long time, especially if you were a grinder. But then it also was kind of that incentive too of, you know, I want to push to get my team there. Like, there was a huge reason, because then if you quickly turned around and started, nailing dungeons, you can get some pretty good drops. As far as that goes. And yeah, I would definitely agree that like Magic Find was something that you kind of, wanted. It definitely has its purpose. I like its place though in the Treasure Hunter tree, where you could toggle it on and toggle it off, because you figure that might be some of the use cases for people was they would switch on their Magic Find gear to run different areas to kind of get a drop, and then switch over to their PvP rollout just so they had better stats. And that was definitely kind of like my use case that I can remember.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So Rhino has.
Yeah, I was going to go to Rhino's question next. This is a good one. Are 2-star gems as good as 2 out of 5-star gems? Well, I mean, there's, with all gems, there was kind of the legendary gems. There's a 2 measures that I looked at, the way I really interpret it in my head. First one is rarity, and then the second one is efficiency. And the rarity would be your 1-star gem, whether it's Mocking Laughter or something, Seeping Bile, or there was the 2-star gems rarity, and then as of beta we also saw the 5-star. They had no 3 or 4 stars, and that would kind of be the bottom when Rhino's question of 2 on 5-star gems. The 5 there would be the rarity. That was definitely, the kind of the best way to remember, keep it in mind, because there were, your anything out of 5 stars were almost always great. I definitely got my first 1 on 5-star, and I ran it for a while, and then I got a 2 on 5-star, and I replaced something else. You want to get thing on 5 stars more often than not, especially when you look at upgrading them. Because those rarities really give you 10 typically will give you better buffs, better numbers, and more of them. So you might have stats like Magic Find, like for the spellcasters, maybe your casting spells reduce in speed. So there's definitely reasons to want to try to get those 5-star builds. Not that 1 and 2 stars, because I was going to change your question a little bit and say, are 2-star gems worse than a 2 on 5-star or better than a 2 on 5-star? And again, it all depends on what build. I know Saken, referred back to that and probably is putting in a note now about that. The rarity is definitely what you want to kind of focus on when you have a build you're looking for. And the top number is kind of the efficiency, as far as the 2 of 5 or 3 of 5. And I'm trying to remember, because I didn't get enough time to really work with it. You can improve that top number, can't you?
Yeah, you can. It requires you define. You mean the two stars? Like if it's a 5-star potential, if you get a 2-star drop, can you bump it up to a 3-star?
Yeah. So if you picked up a 2 on 5-star, so that's like 2 golden stars with 3 extra, grayed out stars. That's different than the leveling, which a lot of people need to really see to get straight.
Yeah, so you can if you have like a 2. It even works for like a 2-star gem, because a 2-star gem can roll 1 star out of 2. So if you have a 1-star gem that you've been ranking up, or a 1-star gem with the potential of 2 stars that you have been ranking up, then later, like a month later, say you get a 2-star gem of the same thing, of the same gem, you can actually take that 2-star. Use it to rank up your 1-star, and the new gem becomes a 2-star gem. So you can do the same thing for 5-star as well. So you won't lose all the materials and upgrades that you've been doing to your lesser star one. It all works out, and you won't lose out. So, and then also as far as your in your scenario where you had a 2-star, say you had a 2-star gem drop, it's rank 1, and then say you have a potential 5-star gem drop, but it's only 2 stars. So in that instance, you could ask, well, which one's better? From a offensive defensive rating perspective, the answer is they're equal. So at rank 1, a 2-star gem can drop with 12 offensive defensive rating and 1.5% attribute bonus. And then each rank you level up that 2-star gem, you gain 6% more offensive defensive rating. But say you have a 5-star gem drop that is that actually only rolled 2-star gem or 2 stars. It's the same thing. It will start off with 12 offensive defensive rating and a 1.5% base attribute bonus. But the thing is, so in that instance, yes, they would be equivalent. But at the same token, that you get that same gem. Say we're just talking about Sleeping Vial. Say it rolled 2 stars, but then you get a Sleeping Vial down the road that rolled 4 stars. It's much better. That would start out with like 22 offensive defensive rating, and not just that, the skills or the affixes that the gems do, the 5-star gems do, are a lot. They're really good. You don't want to pass them. They're 5-star gems for a reason. So yes, most of the time 5-star gems are, well, actually I would say pretty much all the time 5-star gems are going to be better. So.
Yeah, and I know that was the other one that, like, I know I had to do that mental math a couple times of like, oh, I've got these gems, this one's great, but this one's not as good. And things that I always kind of, keep in mind is also what's the potential also, like I can remember having trying to do the level ups and how do I want to turn in this gem or this gem, or do I want to upgrade which gem do I want to focus on, I can remember, looking at it like, oh, if I were to use this, 2-on-2 star gem and, try to rank up something else. Right now that 2-on-2 star is level 1 and it's worth nothing. I would not turn that in, even though I got a lot of gem power, just because, like you said, that 2-on-2 has a lot more potential once I do level it up, to really be impactful. Or even a 1-on-5 star, like at least where I would never turn in a 1-on-5 just to get gem power. Like maybe you will, maybe there's a reason. I've got 3 versions of this gem, but even then, there's plenty of times. I know Saken dropped it in the campfire chat channel. There's a lot of. Oh, yeah, I guess you didn't drop what I thought you were going to do, but I've seen similar where they have the breakdown on. Leveling up, and there's times where if I'm trying to level up a gem to rank 3, if memory serves, I think I need, so I'm at 2 going to 3. I actually need 2 rank 2 gems to become a level 3, which again, it kind of goes back to what I was saying before of like, you never burn, some of those higher level gems. You also never have enough of the 1 stars that you really need with, Mocking Laughter and the like.
Yeah. All right. So Amal's question is, he says, so Maxwell says dailies include PvP and PvE, takes 3 hours per day. He says, does that sound accurate just for dailies? You can take that one more.
Yeah, no, that is, like, if you're really focusing in on it. That's where you
the distinction between Shadows versus Immortal too, and so that's a big difference as well.
Yeah, I mean, like I was gonna say, it depends on how much you focus. If you are extremely hardcore, then 3 hours might be appropriate. If you're a little more casual, it might not be. Definitely doing something like, just your bounties, Joel's saying like an hour and a half, that's about right. Especially now that you've got those kind of clustered together.
Yeah, I'd say it takes you like 45 minutes to an hour if you do want to do all 12 of your bounties every day. And then if you're Shadow, you have your contract, take you 7-10 minutes to do that. And if you want to do Battlegrounds, and you're trying to get the rewards from Battlegrounds, that's 3 Battlegrounds a day. So each Battleground takes about 10 minutes or so, and then you get to queue up for it as well. So that you're probably looking at 45 minutes there. And then if you want to do any of the other Shadow content, like Raid the Vaults, yeah, it could easily take you 2 hours for Shadow stuff, maybe a little longer. For Immortal stuff, at least 3 hours, or like probably closer to 4.
Yeah, and that also again goes down to what you want to do. Like again, if you're not a PvP person, you may not want to do the Battlegrounds. If you time it right, as we used to refer to it, you do the power hour stuff. I mean, yeah, obviously that slows down getting your daily quest stuff done.
All right. See what else we got. Oh yeah, it's there. Burnt asked, will there be a voice chat in Diablo Immortal?
I told you I wasn't crazy. I mean, yeah, there is a voice chat. It actually is pretty good too. In my experience, using something like Discord has its benefits where you don't have to be partied up, but in the game you do need to be partied up. To take advantage of it, really take advantage of it. And again, it goes back to, at least in my mind, party as much as possible. There's lots and lots of reasons to do that. Even if it's just, running around the overworld waiting for something to happen. I would do that where I just randomly party just for the sake of getting the extra buffs, the kill streaks.
You bring up a good point too, because a lot of times people go to events, right? Every hour these events. If you're in a group, if someone gets a first hit on an elite pack when you're with 30 other people, you get drops from that. You get an orange monster that's probably going to drop a legendary. You get rewards for that. Or there's a purple mod, you get rewards for that, right? So whenever you go to an event place like the Carriage and there's 40 other people, it's good to be in a group because you never know, what monster, what mob's going to pop up when you're following the event. It's a good.
Yeah, and even the sometimes with the party group, you can, I don't want to say help your other persons or carry the weak people, but you certainly can help, like Saken was saying earlier, if you're a squishier class, you don't want to get right in the fray of some of those events like the Carriage where there's lots of stuff going on. You can stay back a little bit further and let the Barb or the Crusader, who can definitely keep pace and definitely jump in the middle of it, get that hit in, and then you all benefit. And same thing with the Proving Ground out in Biofin. If you're partied up and again the wizard or the demon hunter stays a little further back, you can still get the benefits of somebody that's sitting there, hammering away, and grouping up is definitely a best way to do that.
So the question students had, how are the odds for free-to-play players to at least occasionally get some legendary gems here and there? So if you didn't see his screen, Stockton did put what was data mine. But we read October and a couple other people have actually gotten 5-star gems from rare crest. So we don't necessarily believe that that data to be completely true. But I'm sure we'll get more information on that when the game launches. But it is pretty accurate though. From my testing myself, if you're using a rare crest, the percent chance of you getting a legendary gem, a 1-star, and then the 2-star gem is about 2%. And that's actually what I found for myself through personal testing when I've been using rare crest. Now, as far as the legendary crest goes, you'll be able to earn some of those in the battle pass. You'll get some of those in the battle pass if you pay for it. You also can get one from the Hilts vendor, I believe once a month. I think, right, Red? Or is it once a week? I think once a month. You can get a legendary crest that way. You can also get it by purchasing it with platinum. From a vendor next to the Elder Rift. They sell a legendary crest for a certain amount of platinum. I think it's 1,000 platinum or maybe like 1,600 platinum. So those are some ways you can get legendary crest. Hopefully that answers your question. You got anything to add, Red?
Hey, Wads, I'm sorry. I just dropped in the chat. I'm jumping on another call.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw you at me. Okay. All right. So, hopefully that answers your question, students. If you have any additional questions, feel free to ask. That's a good question, Bones. So, Bones McCoy, he asked, and also if you guys want to, since it's just me now, since Red is busy, if you guys want to come up and chat, feel free. But I'll just keep answering questions. So Bones McCoy asked, how many legendary points did you obtain upon reaching max level, percentage-wise? So I guess you're meaning how many legendary, how much legendary equipment did we obtain by the time we get to max level? Because obviously, your legendary gear has huge effects on your skills. So you have your standard skills that you get passively while you're leveling up, and then each new legendary equipment you get modifies an existing skill to make it take on different properties. So it's a really neat system. And you're not, by no means are you going to be legendary, legendary star. If you're doing events, if you're doing dungeons, if you're going around open world, you'll find orange mobs. You won't have a complete set by the time you reach max level. Like, you won't have every piece of legendary equipment in the game, but you'll probably have, I would say, I'd venture to say, 30-40%, and that depends on too, how long is it taking you to level, or are you just powering through and doing the question as efficiently as possible. Yeah, but you'll probably have like 30%, and then after that, once you reach max level, you start doing events like the Carriage, like the Ancients, and you start blasting dungeons. You start doing arenas. The equipment will start coming a lot faster. I had all the equipment. I think every single piece of gear I had probably within a little over like a month, probably around a month. I don't know. Sounds about right to me, month, maybe a month and a half. But I will say that one thing I did notice is I think some of the things that equipment that I had the hardest time getting actually was offhand, and I found that in alpha and in beta. I had everything else completed, but there was like one or two pieces I was missing for an offhand. So when you're playing the game, it behooves you to do your research on which offhand you're looking for to complete the build that you need, because in the battle pass you will have the opportunity to pick up a free offhand legendary. So do your research, choose wisely, because you may not get that piece for a month and a half. There we go.
Sorry, me again. I just had a couple of questions just to help the conversation go. Since Red is not there, I figured, so as a free-to-play player, right? Because having wells kind of freaks me out, because I know the game is going to help me with my time. But am I going to be blocked money-wise? Like, is there like a maximum that I could actually upgrade my items? How is the power gain from somebody that actually puts money in compared to me just grinding my ass off?
Well, I'm pretty sure you already know the answer to that,
but good question. It's going to help other people.
Yeah, it is. So, I mean, first I gotta put this a little into perspective. I don't want to get, if there's free to play players here, that's fine. You still love the game, you still have fun, you still be able to compete. In Battlegrounds, they'll pair you with other people around your same gear level. It's like a battle rating, right? So you won't get, after the initial Battlegrounds start going, you won't get paired with a well. So you're not going to be paired with someone who's got like 5-star gems across the board. So you should not get completely demolished in Battlegrounds. So that's a good thing. But yeah, there is a big gap. And there's people that say it's not pay to win. There's people that say it's usually pay to win. There definitely is pay to win aspects depending on how you perceive it. The legendary gems are very powerful, and the wells are going to have, there was people in beta that had like all 5-star gems. You know, some rank 6, some rank 7 5-star gems, and just the difference between the base attributes, the base stats, and the additional percentage to like damage or percentage to life that was on those gems is huge. So there is a big gap, but
it's huge. But with ODR, I heard ODR was changed for CR. Is it the same thing?
it is. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's called combat rating, and from what I've seen, it's the same thing. It's still you know, it's essentially ODR. But one thing, and I know you probably saw these screenshots, Sakin, is when they came out with the last video, it did show that it was combat rating. But the one thing that was not there is legendary gems now are in beta. You saw like on top of the ODR there was percent based to stats. So if it was on a weapon, your legendary gem would have like 20% increased damage, base damage. And if it was a 5-star that was upgraded, you'd be at like 40% increased base damage on your weapon. But I did not, on the screenshots, it's not there anymore. So I don't know if they took out the percentages or lessened.
So what you're saying is, as I build, for example, my barbarian, I don't really care about actually doing something like a build I want to do. The only thing I want to have is 5-star gems to be powerful. Or is actually building a build like a concept to have fun with better?
No, it's always better to go with the, to do your research and have fun with the build that you want. You'll still have power. You'll still be able to level up your gear. You'll still be able to level up your gems. It's going to take you a lot longer if you're spending money, but you will be with people like in Battlegrounds or out in, if you're in Hell 1 difficulty or Hell 2 difficulty, you'll be with people around the similar level as you, right?
Okay.
So you'll still have fun. You'll still be able to participate. Now you may not be like number 1 on the leaderboards, challenge leaderboards, because those will be huge wells most likely. But you can still have fun in every activity.
How do I catch up with the rank 1 on the leaderboard when he has rewards that I don't as rank 50?
You mean because he gets ahead of you because he buys a bunch of stuff at the beginning, so there's no way to catch up?
You get special items when you're ranked, called the little pizza things that help you upgrade your secondary sets. If I doing challenge rifts, that's the only way to get your pizza.
Crystals. Yeah, you mean the
yes. The pizza crystals.
Yeah, something crystals. I can't remember. Emblematic. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think there's. I mean, I think they. I don't know. Did anyone get past level 2? Secondary use?
The rank 1 gets about 200 extra.
Yeah. But I mean, as far as the secondary gear, what's the max level to go up to? Is it 10?
I think it was like 11, maybe more. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure as people level up, it will continue to increase. But no, there's really, you're not going to be able to catch up to those guys. It's just something you're going to have to, unless they quit the game. It's just something you're going to have to.
So just play and enjoy the game and not like worry about ranking up.
Yeah, you just have to come to terms with it, be at peace. Unless, Blizzard still said they're looking at legendary gems and there's still changes to come to them. So, it may be, the power gap may not be as much, kind of launch this.
Now, as a free player, can I actually look cool without paying? I saw a video of Greg 2G, and he says that you have to spend like $1,000 to look cool.
Well, I mean, I still think the characters look cool. You'll be able to get cosmetics through the battle pass as well.
But you have to pay for the battle pass, right? What if I'm like free to play? Is it like I'm okay spending like $5 for like the monthly, but 15? Like I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. You have to have the Empowered Battle Pass, which is 15 to get skins, right? The Immortals have a special skin, but that's only if you're immortal, and then once you leave immortal, the skin gets taken away. There's no
that
skins
sucks.
for shadow. There's no skins for shadows. But yeah, I mean, the only other way really to get cool effects on your gear as you're leveling up your gear is once you get your gems to rank 10, you start getting your gear starts getting modified with cool looks. I don't know how. No, I don't think nobody knows now like at what level that starts changing because that was not in beta.
Awakening?
But as you get to level 10, your gear becomes awakened. It changes the looks of your gear, and it will continue to change as you continue to awaken your gear. So
Okay, so it's not Paragon based. It's like gear based.
yeah, it's gear based, not Paragon based.
Is it actually a paywall? Because you have to buy like an Echo orb or something. It's like $10 a piece. So if I actually want to upgrade my gear, I have to pay $10 per slot. So that's $60 just to be able to level up my character.
Yeah, so that's called the Dawning Echo. And as of beta, the only way to attain a Dawning Echo to awaken your gear and to get the cool looks on your gear was to pay money. But they did comment that they're looking at ways. Blizzard did comment that they're looking at ways to make a Dawning Echo available through gameplay. So I would count on it. I would count on it not being a paywall, but I don't think Blizzard will do that. I think they're going to change.
Yeah, no, I remember, but that Donnie Echo kind of pissed me off.
Yeah, there was a lot of bad feedback about it in the beta, so it will get changed.
Do you believe it's possible that they're going to take away the pay to win mechanism of Crest? Or
no,
because
not gonna take it away.
Because I know they'll make a lot of money out of it, but like everybody complained about it because they did announce it as a complete free-to-play game and a game there for like the players. But then you log on and you realize that you could actually spend $10,000 to get everything ranked up right away. And if I was going to farm, I would have to farm like 5 years to maybe reach the guy. So I'll never be the immortal. And to be the immortal, I have to like win in PvP and I have to battle and I have to do okay, maybe I could do like Echo Hack, make my guild, have a lot of friends, make my social network, and then my clan wins, so I become the immortal, right? So there's ways to actually reach the top without really having the power, but like, how do I compare or compete with all of the elements going against me, basically? As a free-to-play, am I actually useful in a clan?
Yeah, you're useful. I mean, it's true there's gonna be people playing, but true wells, I mean, that's gonna be less than 1% of the population. People that are spending, hundreds of dollars a week, maybe dropping thousands of dollars in the first week. It's, I mean, like the fans, the fans are gonna be 100 people in the clan or 150. I'm not sure yet.
So
But
there's some elements of the game that I'll never see if I'm just casual.
Yes, but casual is different than free to play. So if you're just casual and you're spending, like a few hours every week, no, you'll never see immortal, because that requires grinding. You have to be a high Paragon level. You have to have good gear. You have to have good gems. So yeah, if you're just casual, you won't see that content probably. But you'll get to experience all the shadow stuff.
Yeah, because I hear like Scrappy Echo and Nemo. Not Scrappy Echo. Wow, Echo and Nemo talk about how Shadow is like better than Immortal, and like in my head, it's like no, like being the Immortal is like the shit. But then it's like a chore. Like, what is your experience as an Immortal? I remember seeing you with an Immortal suit. How is it?
I mean, I like being in the world, but it's the way I boil it down to is Shadow is more you can do your own thing. If you want to do a contract, you can do a contract. If you want to raid the vault randomly, join a group and raid the vault. It's more based on your schedule. It's more about just you, like the Path of Blood. It's all about just you leveling up your Path of Blood, leveling up your rank within the shadows. The Immortal, it's more, it's about the team. You're always, everything you do, from daily quest to defending the vault to Keon's Ordeal, which is the 48 player raid. It's all about building up the Immortal rank, so you can maintain it for as long as possible. And it does take more time. There's I think nine or 10 Immortal dailies just by itself. That doesn't include all the other stuff that you have to do. So yeah, it takes more time, but I enjoy being Immortal. I like the idea I like the team environment. To me, it's why I play this game. I like feeling like I'm contributing to a common goal. So it just depends on what you like to do.
So you have like extra chores, like you'll have like your an hour and a half, and then your 3 hours of Battleground, and on top of that, you have like your extra hour of Immortal stuff, and in between that, you're stopped by vault alerts.
Yes, yeah, yes. Immortal does take a lot of time, so you will need at least 4 hours a day to including all your normal stuff you want to do and Immortal stuff. And I think 4 hours a day is probably it's probably the minimum. You really need to spend more time there if you want to contribute to the reign and accomplish everything you need to do as an Immortal. Second, let's answer some of these questions in the chat here while we're still
go
going. We said so. Captain said. Inti Darkness said, so at the start you choose to be Adventure or Shadow, then the Shadow choose to be Immortal or stay Shadow. How do the first Immortals become Immortal? So Inti Darkness, it's not really complicated. Once you hit level 40 and you are at the end of a zone called Bilfin, it's a quest that comes up. It walks you, it exposes you to Shadow and Immortal. It basically takes your hand and says, hey, go here, listen to this guy, and then it starts you down the quest line for Shadows vs. Immortal. It will introduce you to both sides, and then once you're done with all of that quest, it will send you back to the original person, and you'll at that point you'll be allowed to go basically join up in the Shadows. But you can't just choose to be an Immortal. That's earned. So you would start in the Shadows in the clan, like a Dark Clan with Scrappy Echoes. You fight to be the #1 Dark Clan, and then at that point, if you beat the Immortals in essentially Battlegrounds, then you become the Immortal Clan. And the Immortal Clan gets to choose 2 ally clans to join them as Immortals. So you can't just choose to be Immortal. But if you're in like an Immortal clan, that essentially means you're striving to become Immortal. So every time the cycle ends, every time the Immortals lose, you're striving to become the new Immortal clan. So you're always going to be pushing to be the #1 Dark Clan, so you can become Immortal. If that makes sense. Yeah, anything you want to add to that second? My second one. What did you hop down? I don't know, you should. Did I miss any questions? Looks like I think we got them all. So Bones asked, when do you guys think the next blog drop will happen? I think it will actually happen late this week or definitely by next week. The reason being is because they said that there's another blog post coming at the end of the last one. So at the end of Wise's last video that was introducing the PC and everything like that, they said that there's another post coming. They also said that there's server updates coming, so we'll know more about. We have some data mined information about servers and regions, but it will be official then. Those will hopefully put out a list of servers and regions, and they'll also go and they also said there's a lot of changes coming to Cycle of Strife, so I think they'll put that out as well. So I think that'll happen either late this week or next week. Okay. The fourth question is people saying that it is must to play 3 to 4 hours per day what if I will spend, for example, on weekends 10 plus hours or even more just playing? Does it mean I'm not supposed to have daily? So I think what you're asking is, if you don't have a lot of time on the weekdays to play, but you're going to spend 10 hours plus on Saturday and Sunday playing, is that okay? And so what I can tell you is so you have daily bounties, right? You get 12 bounties a day, and they can stack. So I think they stack up to 24. Is that right, Sagan? You know? Anyway, so you'll do 12 bounties in a day, and if you miss in that day, then they'll add 4 more to your stack the next day. So the next day you'd have 16, and I think it goes up to 24. So if you just did not play for an entire 5 days, you would miss out on some bounties, but they do allow you a little breathing room. If you don't hop on for a day, you won't lose those bounties. You'll be able to go and do them the next day. You will miss a lot of events. There's no way around that. Every hour there's events that will give you resources and materials needed to level up your gear. There are aspects of the game, yes, that require. If you don't want to be casual, if you are striving for high-end in-game content, then yeah, you really need to hop on every day. But if you're not too worried about that, you can miss a day or two. The shadow contracts, they stack as well. I think they stack up to 3. So you get 1 per day. You can miss a couple of days and you'll be okay. There's also, they do like unique events in game that don't happen all the time. And they're also like bounties. You won't have to worry about that. You can miss a couple of days and you'll be fine. It's really the 3 to 4 hours that comes in for immortals. If you're a shadow and if you're in a shadow clone and you're not trying to push for immortal status, then you don't need to play every day. You don't need to play 4 hours a day. You just need to hop on and do what's fun. Those time frames are for people who are blasting, so who are trying to become immortal. So don't feel pressured. If you play 10 hours a day on the weekend, you'll get good gear. You'll be able to grind dungeons. You'll be able to get good sets. So you'll be okay. So Bones asks, with the new set items changes, do you think we need to try and get multiple set items for builds? Because in beta, it seems like everyone focused on just one set. For Bones, yeah, I think from what I've seen from the set items, they made the 6 set bonus really good. And this is just from a data mine perspective, because we haven't actually seen anything official from Blizzard yet. But the sets seem really good. And like on my wizard, for example, there's a good set that I would use for challenge risks, and then there's also another set I would like to use for battlegrounds or PvP. But as of now, we do not know how they're going to implement sets. In beta, there was a huge player pushback that sets were not achievable. So by the time you got to your 6 set bonus, there was already another piece of gear that you got that was new that made your old gear obsolete, right? So because of ODR and the way offensive defensive rating works, if you got another piece of gear 20 levels past this initial set of gear, then your old gear was obsolete. You really had to go with your highest ODR item, because that's what allows you to unlock content, allows you to unlock new challenges, allows you to unlock raids. So they're addressing that. That's the last we've heard from Blizzard on that officially, is that they're coming up with ways, they're devising ways to make it to where you can complete sets and you won't feel like you have to sabotage a set to replace it with another item that has a higher offensive defensive rating. So really, until we get those details, we're not really sure if you'll be able to get, if you'll be able to collect 1 or 2 full sets. Hopefully you can collect many, but we'll have to see how they work. Let's see, anyone else want to hop up and ask anything? It's like we've been going for a long time, guys. Let's say we're at almost an hour and 10 minutes, so I can put last minute question in there, and I'll answer real quick, and we'll try to end it within the next 5 to 10 minutes. So DK asks, how about character names rules? Uppercase. I'm not too sure about that. DK. I mean, I know I saw people with symbols in their names, and uppercase and lowercase. So I'm not sure though. I imagine it doesn't differentiate between uppercase and lowercase. So you can't have a Wadhams with a lowercase and then a Wadhams with. Yeah, from you're ridiculous, dude. I'm just trying to ignore you. You keep popping up with this stuff. So yeah, the Raid the Vault, it actually it changed from alpha to beta. So there's an LFG for Raid the Vault now, which is cool. You just hop in like a queue, get in a group, and it will pair you up with people, and then you can Raid the Vault. There is a cooldown time after you do a certain amount, like so each day if you Raid the Vault a certain amount of times, you get a reward, and I think once you've accomplished that, there's a cooldown time. But it's not that long a cooldown time. You can just wait a little bit and come back, and then you can continue to Raid the Vault. So yeah. Well, fourth, I have Friday off from work actually, so I'll probably play quite a bit on launch day. My goals, I don't set like specific goals in like I want to be level 40 or 42 by the end of launch day. My goals are more like what I want to accomplish in games as far as like quest goes, and my advice is do the story, never skip any exclamation mark on your screen. So there's side quests that come up all over the place when you're doing the main storyline. And never skip those because they provide resource materials that allow you to level up your gear. And once you get your gear past level 6, it becomes a grind to level up your gear, especially when you get past level 12. It requires a ton of materials. So never skip a blue exclamation mark. Make sure you always do that. And then there'll also be dungeons that pop up. Not dungeons, for some reason I'm blanking. Little like dungeon instances that pop up in the middle of your world when you're out there just roaming around doing your quests. There'll be a random dungeon that pops up, right? A lair. Sorry, it's called a lair. There'll be a lair that pops up. Don't skip lairs. You can do 2 lairs a day. Well, as of beta, you can do 2 lairs a day. And each layer drops, you'll get 3 gems from each layer. Well, 3 gems per level. So some layers only have 1 level, and if they only have 1 level, you'll get 3 gems from that layer. Some gems have a second level, or some layers have a second level. So that layer, you'll get 6 gems from that. And you can get 6 gems a day from a layer. So don't skip layers. Make sure you get your 6 gems a day. So those are my goals. It's not necessarily you don't want to get to 52. It's am I playing the game efficiently and properly? That way, down the road, I'm not as resource starved, or my gems are a lower level than comparable people with the same paragon because I skipped a bunch of these explanations. So that kind of stuff. And it also will help you with leveling, because there's a lot of points when you're leveling that you don't have enough XP to go to the finish your entire quest line at level 38. Or you can't move on to the next zone. You can't move on to Mount Sylvain until you get to level 40, or actually 41. So you need to do all the side stuff. It helps you in the long run, for sure. Red's back. Yeah, and then it's talking saying too, if you say you already get to max level, and there's something in game called a World Paragon level. And say right now the server Paragon, it goes up 2 every day. So it'll start at 2, and then the next day it'll go to level 4, and the next day it'll go to level 6, then 8, and 10. So if you're below that server Paragon level, you get a huge XP boost, and XP boost to allow you to catch up to your friends or other people. And yeah, it's I think it's like a 200% XP boost. That's awesome. So. Fred, you there?
I am. I was just didn't want to interrupt just because you were starting to wind things down.
Yeah.
No, I'm actually just responding a little bit in chat, but no, I think you can go. We can go ahead and wrap this up. It's always one of those. We can keep going, certainly.
Let me, Spoons, I don't want to mislead you. You don't have to do 3 hours of daily quest. All right, that's if you're like shooting for immortal status, right? That's if you're doing all your bounties. That's if you're doing all your battlegrounds. That's if you're doing even Sanctum. The game has a lot of different layers. That's truly like for people who are pushing to become immortal, pushing to push challenge risks. Like they're playing a ridiculous amount a day. All right, so don't feel like if you only hop on for an hour a day that you can't have fun, that you can't do dungeons, that you can't do battlegrounds. There will be a place for you in game with other people at your similar gear level combat ready in Paragon. All right, so don't get discouraged.
Yeah, so no, I think that wraps it up. I reiterated your point too, that there's just always just so much to do depending on where you are, what your comfort level is. But no, I think we'll kind of wrap this up. I'll get this posted out for anyone else who kind of wants to get a recap, hear the beginning. Obviously, this is almost an hour and 20 in, or because I know that we're now trying to work it out, get this up posted on YouTube so that it can be transcribed eventually, so that anyone that isn't formally English first, you can certainly, have a transcription to help with the comprehension. Thank you very much for everyone that's coming in. Appreciate everyone's insight. And otherwise, I hope everyone has some good luck because obviously we got 2 weeks left.
All right, we'll see y'all in chat. Thanks.
Thank you much, guys.